He's a dancer, actor, choreographer, and director, and the proud winner of 9 Tony Awards. He's graced the stage in such shows as Seesaw and My One and Only, and made his film debut in Hello, Dolly. But his biggest mark was made as a director and choreographer of such classics as Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, 9, Grand Hotel, and the Will Rogers Follies. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up on Interviews, our conversation with the larger-than-life song and dance man, Tommy Tune. When you're standing on a stage, looking out at that audience, what is that feeling like?
Oh, it's always different because it's always a different group of people. So it never feels the same. It never feels the same. Never. And the first few beats in front of the audience, like what I'm going to do tonight because I start the show, you just have every fiber of your being, every cell is going, where are you? What are you? Who are we? Why? Why are we here? And it's like that. It's very, very exciting and unnerving, and you never get used to it because it's always different.
Is it addictive?
Yes, I think it's I think the performing for a live audience is an addictive thing. I do. It's the best kind of addiction.
When did you first get bit by that bug?
I think I was always. My parents said that I danced before I walked. And the minute that I would crawl through the living room, the music would come on the radio, I'd get up and dance, and then they would clap for me. Well, I mean, this sound is a very addictive sound.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the beginning of it. But I'm incredibly shy, and my theater career has really helped me overcome that.
Why do you think that is? Oftentimes we come across people who say the same thing.
You got to do something to get out of your shell, and performing really, it's flying without a net.
From looking at your career, from following what you do people know you though? Is that who you are or not?
What I do?
Yeah.
No, that's not who I am. That's what I do. There's a persona there. And it's a very confusing thing for people with my career because the sort of thing that I direct is not the sort of thing that I perform in. I have my limitations as a performer, and I work in kind of a not very broad thing, so I can fulfill my thing. But when I direct, I go a whole other way. It's like when my paintings. I don't think you would think that I would paint what I paint. So I'm a dichotomy.
So who are you really then? How would you describe yourself?
I don't know. I just go about living from moment to moment the best way that I know how, and I want to try to be kind, and I know that you don't win popularity contests. If you're going to be an artist, you have to take some stances in order to do things. And I always hear certain things that people think about me and things that come back, and I go, golly, I don't think that's what I am at all, but that's who I am to them.
Yeah.
So,
You talk about being shy, and I would think just from your height alone, you commanded attention.
Well, my height is what made me shy, because when you first get this tall, and I'm over 6'6", you don't know it. And then you bump your head, and nothing fits, and people look at you, and you walk into a room, and you create a thing when you walk in, but it's not. I had to grow into my height. I had to get my persona, my person, to kind of match it. I never slumped. I didn't try to be short like this because that's ridiculous, and because I had been ballet trained, so I had good posture, I think, but. There were times I just didn't want to walk in a room because it was a major. I make a major entrance, whether I want to or not.
Uh-huh. There's a story that you tell, and I can't remember what show it's from, where you had to cross underneath the stage during a show to get from one side to the other side of the stage.
The St. James in New
York. You kept hitting your head on the pipes and stuff, so you would run around out front the theater.
Yeah.
What show was that for?
That was My One and Only at the St. James Theater. And it was under and, really low with the pipes. But on good nights, I could dash out the stage door and run under the marquee and come back in. Yeah.
People must have seen that and thought, what's going on over there?
I think how unprofessional. He's out there in his costume. But it did help, I didn't have to worry about bumping my head.
True or false, your first day in New York, first audition, you were in?
I did, that's the truth. I got to New York on a St. Patrick's Day, and I think it was 1962. And there was an audition. I saw it in the backstage, and I went to it and I got it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And that was my dream. My dream was to dance in the chorus of a Broadway show. That was my dream. And it came true my first day in New York, so everything else, has come from that.
Do you ever wonder, had it not been, in a sense, that easy, how different your career might have been?
Well, I've been through really hard patches.
Right.
But because that's part of the stew. That's the spice. You got to have it wonderful and you got to have it low. And after a high, you really have a low. I get a low every time I finish a painting. Every time I get a show open, it's like, I think what women have postpartum depression after you give birth, because it's the way guys give birth, is this, I would think.
Do you ever think that's it? You're never going to work again? It's not going to happen again?
Always, yeah. That's it. I'll never work again.
Really? Even at this point?
Yes. Really at this point.
That's funny.
Because it gets harder and harder these days to get a show on. It's so hard to get a show on because it's so many millions. When I first got to New York, you could get a fabulous Broadway show on for $350,000.
And to give reference to everyone, how much would that cost today?
$7 million at least.
Amazing.
But we have $14 million shows. I did a show in Vegas that I starred in for 2.5 years at the MGM Grand, and that was a $90 million show.
That was like
$90 million
right?
for a show.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of show. Yeah. Effects. And, there was a cast of 100, but $90 million?
Yeah.
So,
does that help when you see a show that costs that much money? Does that make for better art, do you think, or have we lost something?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm very suspect with these very expensive shows. I think let a plank and a passion. Let's make the show better and make what the actors, the story that they move through and the levels that they're able to present and how much can they pull you in and how much can they activate the imagination of the audience. Mm-hmm. I don't really need to have the chandeliers and I don't know what to do with that. I've tried to, once all of the helicopters and all of that stuff came in, Wicked is all that. Wicked is totally that. And I really made a concerted effort to go that way, and it's just against my nature. I'm more, in a way, Shakespearean, because Shakespeare didn't even have lighting effects. It was the sun, and here we are in sunny Spain.
Right.
I don't know. It's not my nature. I like to activate the imagination of the audience, and I like it when I go to the theater. I like it when I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, listening, and when it blasts me and I'm back here. It's a whole other experience, but that is the audience. That's the nature of the beast now, I believe. But I still believe deep in my heart that you can speak to the child within the audience and pull them in on this magic journey that you're going to take them on without blasting them. I really believe that.
I read somewhere that you had said that when you first were presented with Nine to actually do that show on Broadway, that you were so won over by the score of it, you hadn't realized how thin the story was.
There's no story. There's no story. That play doesn't have a plot.
But then why does it work? Or work for you?
I don't know. It's a feeling. It was the Maury's music, of course, and my love and respect for Fellini.
Yeah.
And his
because it's based on
his
the
movies
film.
don't have much plot. They're like dreams. They just sort of wander around, but somehow they all add up.
So then
something that you feel.
So then what do you need for a success on Broadway, do you think?
Well, I think a steam engine plot is great. I don't think I've ever had one. They're very hard to come by.
What's out there right now that you think really fits that? Anything?
I saw something off Broadway that was an amazing concept that really moved me. It was called The Audience. And when you come into the theater, there's a whole audience on stage. And so you're looking at yourself. But you just see the theater, and then the audience comes ready to see the show. And it's a musical, and they're watching a musical, but they're really watching you, the audience. It's the damnedest thing. It was so amazing. It really spun my head around, and I was totally fascinated with it.
Yeah.
And they were singing their thoughts, you know, like, when is she going to get off? I'm not interested in this character. That reminds me what's on my laundry list. I've got to remember to do this and this and this before I go home. All of that going on. And yet it's all one group of people experiencing something together. It was fascinating. So I liked that. I don't know.
Yeah. Take me back a little bit. I'm very curious. Hello, Dolly.
Hello, Dolly,
Yeah.
the stage, the stage version.
The movie.
Oh, well,
actually.
the movie, yeah. Well, that came later, and I was in that.
Right. Yeah, that's
but
why.
I auditioned for the chorus of Hello, Dolly. I didn't get it.
And then you got the movie part.
Yeah, a part, not the chorus. Obviously,
amazing.
I was too good for the chorus. No. Yeah, that was really nice. I was dancing in the chorus of a Broadway show called How Now, Dow Jones. It wasn't a success, but it ran. It ran a season. And they spotted me, and they flew me out to California, and I screen tested for Gene Kelly, who directed the movie of Hello, Dolly, and I got the part. That was an unbelievable moment in my life.
Yeah. Can you audition comfortably, or is that nerve-wracking?
I'm not a good auditioner. I'm not. You have to beware of people that audition too well when you're on this side of the footlights. And I'm casting. If I've been dazzled by a person's audition that was so great, and it never moved one higher step.
Uh-huh.
That was it. They hit their level at the audition.
So how do you learn that? How do you know that's going to happen?
I guess practice,
Yeah.
instinct, experience. Intuition, and you know, you get better. The longer you live, you get better. Well, you either get better or you get worse. There's no standing still. So hopefully, you know, I get better. I'm more intuitive. I can peer deeper.
Auditioning, though, in front of Gene Kelly, though.
Oh, well, he
That
was just
must be-
great. He was just so wonderful. He was so Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
But he did give me the best direction I ever got. This is once I had the part. And we were shooting in the dancing number, and he came up to me between takes and he said, "Tommy, dance better."
So what do you do with direction like that, though?
Well, when Gene Kelly says it, it's all who says it. Yeah. I knew what he meant. I knew that I could dance better, and he told me to dance. Just tell me to dance better, and I will dance better. I take great direction because I know how hard it is to direct.
Yeah.
These actors that want to fight with the director, and it's so ridiculous. It's so counterproductive. Do what the guy needs. He's the one in charge. Do everything you can to make his show work, because then you'll be great, and the show will be great, and everybody works.
But they're hiring you for something, and when they hire a Tommy Tune,
Yeah.
and then a director comes and says, "But I want you to do this and that," isn't there something you owe to the image of Tommy Tune?
Oh, no, I think that gets in the way. You owe it to the show. You owe it to the show to fulfill your part within the show.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, you're always seeking to stretch yourself. I mean, if you've got a director that can pull colors out of you that you didn't know you had, wow, how great. How
Is it
great.
hard, though, being as gifted a director as you are, then to work with someone else who might not be as good a director? Does that ever happen? And how do you
I
deal
try to
with
take
that?
off my director hat when I'm a performer. And I try to leave that behind. Of course it passes through. It passes through. And of course I say, "Oh, I see what's wrong with this scene if they'd only done." And then I stop myself and I say, "But you're not directing the show, Tommy Tune. You're performing in the show. Do it. And let him find his way."
Really? I would
Yeah.
think that would be one of the hardest things to do.
Not really, because when you're directing, you can see it. And when you're up in it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
You see, there's this magic thing between being on stage in the footlights and being out there in the audience. It's an ethereal, nether thing that you pass through. It's like going through the looking glass, Alice through the looking glass. Because I can, the times that I've had to direct myself, and I only do it under duress, because I don't like to star in a show and direct. It's very hard. And I never get to be any good till 6 months down the pike because I got to take care of everybody else. But I'll be up there sorting it out on stage with me in a scene, and then I'll get my stand-in to do it, and I'll go out there, and it'll be awful. Then I'll fix it. Then I'll step into it, and it'll feel so weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right, but it's right for this eye, the director's eye. So that's what you have to trust in the director.
What do you like doing better, performing or directing?
Whichever I'm doing at the moment. Whichever I'm doing at the moment. I'm so fickle. As long as I'm into it at the moment, that's all I can ask for in life. Like this interview. We are so into it. It's really great.
Now that you mention it, I remember there are cameras here. For a minute there, I totally forgot.
Oh, yeah. They're here. No, but that's it. That's the secret to living. Yeah. That's it. I'm sure of it. And, of course, when you're in a show, when you're performing in a show, every moment, it's to the nth degree, this feeling.
What does it take to get you to sign on to something? What are you looking for when a project comes to you, be it directing or performing?
I don't know if it activates my imagination. If I start seeing it, because I read lots and lots of scripts, and there's really a lot of tripe out there. Yeah. But every once in a while, I'll pick up a script, and I'll start to read it, and I read really slowly when I read a script because I got to imagine it as it's happening, or I'm not giving it a fair shake. So it's a drain. When somebody says, I've written this script, would you read it? Yes. But it's such a commitment. But when you start, and like in 5 lines, you find yourself going, what's going to happen next? Well, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. You go, oh boy, this is something. And then I start seeing, this could happen like this, and this could happen. It's thrilling, but it doesn't happen much.
Yeah. Grand Hotel, as I understand it, up until just before you opened, there was a lot of work on that show.
Oh, yeah. But I seem to have difficult births with all my shows. My one and only was just awful out of town.
Yeah.
And everybody's always so amazed nowadays because you can go on the internet and find out how a show did in its out-of-town tryout. They're always bad. At least my shows are always bad. Grand Hotel was just awful. Seesaw was just a mess. My one and only was shambles. And 9, I didn't get an out-of-town tryout.
Yeah.
So, but it was never as good as the workshop.
So explain this, though. What is it, then? You get it all mounted, you're doing it, you're performing on these out-of-town tryouts, and you're seeing what isn't working. Why didn't you see that before? And
I don't know, because you go in thinking that you've got it great. You have to, or you can't start rehearsal. You go in with that script and went, this is it. I've got it down, it's right. I never say, well, we'll fix that once we get in rehearsal. No, I've got it. And you put it all together, and bit by bit, it seems to be working, and you put it all together, and you run it, and you go, oh, my God. Now what do I do,
In Grand Hotel, you had a song put in right before you opened, too, correct? With the ballerina?
Several. Yeah. I had to get a lot of work done on that show.
So then what drew you to it initially? Why? What was it that spoke to you?
I'll tell you one lyric. Some have not. Why? That, the haves and the have-nots in this world, I was interested because they put it like that. Yeah. Some have not. Why?
And what's the answer that you've come up with?
I don't know. But it sure was good plummeting the question.
How much of your life have you given up, sacrificed for the theater, do you think?
Too much, probably. But
really?
I don't know how to work any other way. I haven't taken time to smell the roses, and I didn't make a family. And those are things that at this age I think about. But I think it's never too late. You can stop and smell the roses. And I have a godchild that I'm just besotted with. I love this child, and we christened him last Sunday, and I was the godfather, so I held him. And his mother dressed him. She got a suit just like my suit for him. I mean, we were a trip, and I just love this child, and he's 20 months old now, and to watch him grow, and I just want to stick around and watch how Luca grows. That fascinates me, you know. So those things I missed out on, but I haven't missed out on them because I'm doing them now.
Yeah. Is there something you wish you had done career-wise that you didn't do?
No, I have no regrets.
Really?
I have no regrets. It's interesting, though, how things have changed. Like this thing about being gay. It was absolutely stuffed, and if you wanted to have a career in the theater, you could not let anybody know anything about your personal life, and you had to live another thing. And then when it came out, I lost a very important movie role because there is a prejudice against male gay actors in Hollywood. There is. They'll cast you in playing a sissy part, but if you're supposed to be a leading man and there's something that happens. But that's fine because I didn't like making movies anyway. I liked the idea of starring in a movie. I liked the idea of it. That was my ego. But I really don't like making movies. I think it's boring. I like being on the stage with an audience.
There's a story about when you first won your first Tony Award, too, that you had brought your male companion as your date, and that they seated you with a pole between the two of you, and that they didn't show you in the audience.
It's changed so much. I mean, first of all, the word gay didn't exist. It didn't exist when I was growing up. We've changed. It's changed a lot. It really has. And I have no axe to grind about it.
Does it surprise you that there was a prejudice in the theater, of all places?
Well, there wasn't really in the theater. I'm in Hollywood television.
But not in the theater?
Not really. No, I don't think so. I haven't run into it.
Yeah.
Which is another part of another reason for why I loved it. I feel accepted, you know.
Yeah. How early did you know? How young?
Oh. Well, see, I lived a very sheltered life. I didn't know how babies were made. Like I was 17 and I didn't know how babies were made. And I kissed the girl across the street and I was worried that she was going to get pregnant. That was then. I mean, now everything's turn on the TV, reality.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just a different time. I love it. I love that everything's. But we've lost something too. We've lost nuance, and that's what I think the theater has lost with the advent of sound. That you can turn it up and everybody can have a steroid voice, and they do it with knobs. Rah! And everybody. Yeah. I think we've lost nuance, and I think that's what I have to bring, and I have brought in my shows, and why I loved working with Twiggy, because she's not a yah. She gives a nuanced performance because she's a very three-dimensional woman, and it's fascinating.
What challenges you in your personal life to this day? What are the challenges that you want to conquer?
Well, the physical challenge of dancing at this age, I face every day, and I work very hard every day. I do something that challenges me physically so I will be able to sing and dance and act on the stage. And that doesn't get easier with age, but I get better.
Yeah.
I rein in. I was all over the place. I was 6'6" of blah, and now I keep reining it in, and it's better. It's more controlled. It's finessed, and so I'm always working on that. But you have to do a lot of. Being on stage is the tip of the iceberg, and all of this under is your life, preparing for that little bit above the water.
Do you get to the point where you say, enough already? I've done all of this little part up here. I don't need to keep doing that?
I think I thought that this morning when I woke up because I had to get on the plane at some ungodly hour to get here for this performance tonight. And I hadn't really slept because the night before you travel, you don't really sleep, you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm conscientious, you know, I'm never late, all of that. So this morning I thought, oh, God, how can I get... And then, you know, I'm here and we're rehearsing and all these people are here and it's going to be a show and there's going to be people there and it's one night only, you know, and I'm going to be nervous, at least till I get on. Well, yeah, always. Really? I think if I didn't, then I should stop because you have to care that much.
Yeah.
Am I going to get it right tonight? Am I going to do the best that yes, come on, do it. And, you know, you never do. There's always a hangnail somewhere. But, you know, you get the clippers out for the next performance.
Yeah. Now, you have quite a few Tony Awards, well known for your Tony win. There are people in Houston, Texas who are thrilled because they have Tommy Tune Awards.
A Tommy, I know. Isn't that cool?
What does that mean
That's
to you?
Cool. Oh, it's just so sweet when Frank from Theater Under the Stars called and said, we figured this out. Broadway has its Tonys, and we would like Houston to have its Tommies. I was so flattered. And that it's high school, because that's when it all started for me.
And it's awards to excellence in high school and musical theater.
In the musical theater. And they're the Tommies. I love it. I think it's just so cool. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of that.
Yeah. Now, what is your record with Tonys? It just got tied, though, actually, right?
Did it? I don't know.
Four different categories, something like that?
I'm in 4 different categories. I won 9 Tonys, and I won 2 Tonys back-to-back years, directing, choreographing for Grand Hotel and directing and choreographing for the Rogers Follies.
Okay, silly question.
Yeah.
Did you win the recognition and the awards for the right shows in your career, do you think?
Oh, how interesting. Like you're talking about the one that got away or something?
Yeah. Are these the
Well, I
ones that
think
they
the
should-
best work that I ever did was not eligible for a Tony, but it won the Obie, the off-Broadway Oscar. And that was Cloud 9. That was the best piece of material that I ever had. And, of course, the better material you have, the better tailor you become.
Well.
So that was really original thought, and I've never had that quality in a musical. I've had great music.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Tune, we are out of time. It happens that quickly.
Wow, see how fast life goes?
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with us.
It was my pleasure.
Tommy Tune. To order a transcript, call 866-652-3378 or send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.